So we're here today with Derrick and Stephanie Weston. How are you guys doing today?
Pretty good.
Good.
Great. So to begin, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourselves?
You
You
first.
first.
My name is Derrick Weston. I'm married to Stephanie Weston. I have 5 kids. 2 kids by Stephanie and 3 kids outside of our marriage. Blended family. We're originally from Philadelphia. We now reside in Delaware. Been married for 12 years. The first 6 was 3-4 years was a lot shaky, but thanks to God and wonderful people that we've met through our journey, we can now say in October we'll be married for 12 years, and it's great. And we're just going up. Marriage, if it gets better than this, I'll be one happy man. When it gets better, while it gets better.
I guess he said it all. We've been married 12 years, and Derrick was, or is, I guess, the love of my life. It was hard, but it was worth it, and it's been a journey, but I think it's been a learning experience. And like you said, we have a few kids. Some are mine, some aren't really necessarily mine, but they're all mine. So it's been fun. It's been a fun experience.
Okay, great. Well, before we start to talk about the shaky spots that you mentioned, let's talk about how you met. How did this love affair start?
Well, what story you want to hear?
Mine is true. This is a little bit true, and then it's the real truth.
Okay, for the sake of taping, you go, and I'll agree.
I met Derrick when I was 21, and he is a train operator, and I was going to work, and I caught his train. And the very first day I caught his train, he said I sat in the hot seat. I didn't know it was the hot seat, but I just sat there, and I came off the train, and I was like, you're a really nice looking man. And then that was it. It was all downhill from there. We talked for a while, and then we just stopped talking. I was 21. He was cute, but I was in a different place. And then a few months later, I got off the train, and he was down on the platform. And after not speaking to him for a few months, and we exchanged numbers again and started our journey. Right?
Yeah.
For the most part?
Yeah, for the most part, we started our journey. For the most part, she's right.
For the most part?
I'll tell my story another time. Okay.
He says, it's all about the Mickey Mouse socks. You might talk about that.
As she said, I'm a train operator, and the way the particular station was set up, as I pulled the train into the station, she was sitting on the bench. And the only thing that I noticed was these Mickey Mouse socks. And, she was working at corporate America. Why she got Mickey Mouse socks,
So back to the Mickey Mouse socks. How
Okay.
I met. Derrick is 10 years older than I am. So, to my, I don't know what I would call it, I was used to Mickey Mouse. I like Mickey Mouse.
Okay, no problem.
And I had on a nice suit. I had a very nice suit on. I was very professional. And I had my Mickey Mouse socks on because I wasn't going to walk in heels. And you saw me, and you like what you saw. I still have those Mickey Mouse socks upstairs.
Yes, you do. She still have those Mickey Mouse socks. We bring them out every now and then. But we met on the train. That second time we exchanged numbers. The first time we exchanged numbers, I called her, but she was busy. At one point, I pretty much gave up, and then we ran into each other again. And I would say that's when our journey started. We started talking. I think she had just gotten out of a relationship. She was available then to talk.
Okay, so she was available to talk. Did she play hard to get?
No, not at all.
No.
I would like to think that I was playing hard to get a little bit.
All right, a little bit. She said a little bit.
Okay, great. Well, you mentioned some shaky times in your marriage. Could you talk to us about what those times were like and how you overcame those times to be where you are today, happy and in love with each other?
Would you like to begin?
Well, as we said, we met and
Journey began.
it began and we were dating. And I guess maybe a year or so into dating, Derrick found out that he had fathered twin boys. And I guess my initial reaction was, well, I was too good to be with somebody that had kids. Like, my ideal person was someone who did not have children. I didn't have children, so that was kind of where my thought process was. And my parents, my father actually said to me, I was really in love with Derrick quickly because I just had empathy for his situation. It was a big, huge, bomb dropped on him with these boys because they were 6 years old or 5 years old when he found out about them. And so he had missed so much of their life. And we were in this relationship and, we were saved, but just maybe not walking as closely with the Lord as we could have been. And I just found that, God took us through so many different ups and downs. We had committed to abstinence shortly after, we did do the right thing initially, but we committed to abstinence. And it just seemed like when we sacrificed that, that's when things just started really going all kinds of crazy. And we had committed to celibacy in August of '98. And I guess it was January 1st of 1999, I found out that I was 5 months pregnant. And I was like, well, how can I be pregnant? I haven't done anything. But it was just so many things. And I think with that, going from newly finding out he was a father, with the baby mama drama that entailed, and then me finding out that I was pregnant, it was difficult. It was very difficult. My family, my church home that I was a part of at the time, they all but disowned me. I was by myself, and Derrick was the only person that I had at that point. And he was the person that kind of caused some of the heartache and distress, but at the same time, he was the only person that I had to rely on. And so when, we go through this journey and we have our son and he comes early, and, I'm thinking, well, I guess the next thing to do is just kind of move in with this guy because we have a kid. So I guess we can go back to what we were doing. It didn't seem like it was going to hurt. We had a baby. And I remember going into his house and going up the I guess this is how my life is going to be. And Derrick says, you're not sleeping in my bed. We're not married. So he put me in the guest room after I had our son. I think it's kind of funny now because I'm thinking, we have a kid, we might as well live together. Everybody else was doing it. And he stuck to his guns. And we got married later on that year, and he just did not allow me to be in a compromising position. And I think I appreciated that, and I think God honored that sacrifice.
Yeah, I know we still in touch on the difficult things that you talked about. Stephanie, she somewhat touched on it. Going back, and I have no problem with sharing. Stephanie and I are comfortable in our marriage. We're comfortable in our journey that we've journeyed from this point, and not that we're pretty much transparent, because I think that our situation and the things that we've been through can help someone else. I've always felt that once you hear someone else's story, if you're going through something and you hear somebody else's story, you're like, man, we're really not going through nothing at all. So that's why we feel as though the things that we've been through on our journey can benefit someone else, being transparent. As Stephanie said, in the beginning, I had just found out that when I met Stephanie, I just found out that I was the father of twin boys after 5 years. And I was actually engaged to another woman when I found out. And things wasn't, the woman that I was engaged to, when I told her, it was a little rough right there. It was a little rough then. We had been dating for some time. She wasn't expecting to become an instant mom. So she dealt with it a little bit. She was an attorney at the time. And she was giving me legal advice of what I can do and, how I could go forward with this. And I happened to meet Stephanie, and during the course of dating her, Stephanie gave me that emotional support that I needed.
Right. But I wasn't. We weren't dating.
Yeah, we were
just friends.
We were pretty much friends.
Yeah, we were just
weren't
friends.
actually dating, but she gave me that emotional support that I needed. I mean, my ex-fiance, she was giving me the legal thing, but I don't think that she was feeling what I was actually going through. I had found out that the children was mine. I did a DNA test and all. And, I actually got custody of twin boys. They're now 20. I got custody of them, physical custody of them. They came to live with me. And I'm an instant father to twin boys, young black boys. It was a little traumatic trying to raise them, figuring out how I'm going to raise them. And as I say, Stephanie was there giving me that emotional support. And eventually it evolved into a relationship.
After you cut it off with the ex-fiance.
Yeah, I cut things off with my ex-fiance. Yeah, I wasn't cheating on her.
And I was no home record.
Yeah, the order of events. After I found out that I was the father of two boys, twin boys, I got physical custody of them. And Stephanie and I continued dating, and our relationship kind of, grew. We were dating for a while. And then in but
prior to that, in August, we had decided to become celibate.
Yes.
And I thought things were going to be going. I'm like, okay, Lord, we'll be celibate, work this thing out. And I just thought that I could be the best stepmother in the whole world. I was going to have big old S on my chest and say I could handle all the things that came along with it. And I remember in December, right before Christmas, Derrick said he wanted to take me to our pastor's office. And I was super excited about it. Like, this is it. He's going to ask me to marry him. So I got myself all dressed up and ready. And we go into the pastor's office, and
I dropped a bombshell on her, I guess.
It wasn't a ring. That's for sure.
I told Stephanie that I went outside of our relationship and fathered a child. At that moment, people may say, well, it was guilt. But at that moment, I think that I realized how much I loved Stephanie. After I told her and saw the hurt, how much hurt that I put on her. And I guess the journey, well, it started, but that journey downhill came in January. But I wouldn't necessarily say it's a journey downhill, but in January, we found out that Stephanie was pregnant.
And the first thing I remember thinking was, oh my God, I cannot be on Maury Povich. I can't be on Maury or Jerry Springer. I can't be two babies, two baby mamas and one guy. Who's the daddy? And it was almost surreal to be in something that 6 months prior to that, my life was perfect, and then to fast forward to in January, early part of January, being told that you're pregnant. I'm still processing the fact that, he went outside our relationship and that somebody else was pregnant at the same time. Not to mention the twins and their mother, who was, just hell-bent on destroying anything that had to do with Derrick. So it was rough. And then that compiled on with my family and the church that we were at. You know, our church made us get in front of the church and apologize because I was pregnant. You know, I had to sit in the back of the church. People wouldn't talk to me. My parents all but disowned me. And so it was rough. It was a really rough time, 1999.
Yeah.
And it was bad. Miles came so early. He was 7 weeks early because of all the stress that I was under. And I remember, and I think where it turned again was I came home from the hospital. I was living with my parents at the time.
Well, before you go on, I just wanted to add that, you know, we're talking maybe a year and a half time frame from going into being engaged to not being engaged to being in a relationship to finding out I have 2 kids after 5 years, and then another child, a 3rd child coming, and then a 4th child coming. You know, I didn't know which way to go. You know, I really didn't, and you know, for the record, that first year to process all of this, it was rough. I didn't know. I was still young, maybe 26, 27. I didn't know the first thing what to do, and I sought counseling and help from godly people because I didn't know what to do. When I say godly people, pastor, assistant pastor, people that I respected spiritually.
And in July, Derrick said we should get married. I was like, okay, cool, let's plan the wedding. And
but I didn't marry her because of, and she knows that, we didn't get married because of Miles.
Right, because my parents and everybody else was trying to force me, or force us to, not force us, but was just like, you know, you should get married before the baby is born. And I just didn't. I had in my mind that, you know, God forgave me, and it just, me getting married wasn't going to change the fact that I was going to have this baby. And so we got married, and I never forget, I remember it was August when his daughter was born, and we were at the hospital, and feeling all that I felt at the time was just, there was such an enormity of emotion. You know, I actually walked in to the room, and she was being born, and I had just had my son 2 months or 3 months before, and the same doctor, who delivered Miles is now delivering Courtney, and it was rough. It was just so rough, and I thought at that point I couldn't take it. I felt like, okay, this is the breaking point. This makes it official, and we still had doubts about the paternity. And I remember sitting there, and they rolled her by, and I was like, you don't even need to get a paternity test. Like, this little girl looks just like you, just you with hair. And realizing that if I was going to be in this, then I was going to have a run for my money, pretty much. That was the reality of it. We got married in October.
Yeah, we wanted to get married.
Well, she was born in August, and then we got a month before she was born, in September. A month after she was born, the paternity test arrived. A month before our wedding day.
Yeah, and you know, to go back more, I think the drama begins, that journey where the obstacles, and it was a hellish experience. And I commend my wife for staying with me, you know, going through this time.
We had to learn through, and but we had to. That's when we talked about where we had those problems. Like, you know, we instantly had family. We instantly had trials and tribulations. We instantly had to deal with financially being always, you know, strapped because of child support. And I remember thinking, you know, you're paying for, and this is my thought, you're paying for these other kids. Like, what is this kid supposed to have? Like, what is my child entitled to? You know, if everything is going out for everybody else. And it kind of progressed. I mean, we rode a wave of, we weren't expecting anything happy. I mean, I know I wasn't. I didn't. I mean, when the phone rang, and you saw a mother's number, It was like, here we go. We're going to start again. And it went on so much, so long, years, 3 years. I think it was really, really bad.
Yeah, and it really affected me. It just went on. It was like stress and one thing after the other, and it just took its toll. And it hit me. I overheard my son Miles ask my wife, ask Stephanie, why is Daddy so angry all the time? And right there, I just knew it took its toll.
And then I got pregnant. Then I got pregnant with Evan.
Pregnant with Evan. But to go back, when things, besides all of that craziness and that stress that went on, I realized that I was bringing it on myself too, because I was dealing with 3 baby mamas. Three baby mama. I know, but 3 baby mamas in the sense that I was dealing with my twin boys' mother, and then I was coming home to my house dealing with my wife of Miles and Evan, and it was crazy. And until I realized that Stephanie and I are married, we're one flesh. What's my problem is her problem, and her problem is my problem. Y'all get that? And we would argue because I'm like, listen, this is my problem. These are my kids. These are the baby mothers. Let me deal with them. Until I realized that, we're in this together, and she's going to stand by me, and that those problems are our problems. It brought calm in our home, and that was another point of growing. Realizing that we're in this together. And when we decided to, I don't want to say it was a problem, but when we decided to attack this stumbling block together, it made things so much easier. It took so much weight off my shoulder because I realized, okay, I'm married, and this is another reason why I appreciate my wife. I don't have to deal with this by myself. Here on earth, I know I have God and Holy Spirit to help me with it, but I also have Stephanie, my physical being, that I can deal with whatever comes my way. It's not me, it's Stephanie and I. It's us as one to deal with whatever comes before us. When I realized that took a lot of pressure off of me, and not that things started getting easier, but it was easier because it wasn't just me dealing with it. I had my helpmate to help me with dealing with this.
And then as we kind of progressed through that, it was learning. It was really that we had to get a book, and we had to go to a marriage conference, and we had to find somebody who we thought was at least doing better than what we were doing. So to kind of link up with them and say, hey, I don't know if I can stand this, because it got promising myself early on that I would never allow them to take me to a place that would compromise my Christian values. And I think that was, that's just, I know you want to say something, but that was just something that I had promised myself, that I would respect these women. And I said to myself that, I'm married to Derrick, as insecure as I was, and I was very, very insecure in the beginning stages of our marriage because of all the things that had taken place. I was insecure about, did he really love me? Was I in this because we got this kid? Or is he going to leave me for one of them? And I was so just consumed with the possibilities of the what ifs, that it was hard for him, because he was not only battling with them, these entities, these 2 women and these 3 kids, and he was battling with all of my emotion too. So I really played a big part in just the emotional heaviness. Different this time was the fact that Derrick and I were in agreement. We had made some choices that no kid, whether it was a child that we had together or a child outside of our home, no kid had. And when we established that, I really believe that the Holy Spirit began to give us clarity, and we could see things before they even came. I mean, we would know that something was coming before it even got there. So then we were able to kind of pray and and strengthen ourselves to be able to deal with it. So when it came, we weren't like off guard. It didn't kick us from under the rug. It really, we were just like, okay, this is a situation. And now as we've gotten older and we've been married for, got a couple years under our belt, I think the last 6 years have just been amazing, because it's been, I think about that scripture that we talk about in church, was it Amos, blessing after blessing, they'll overtake you. And that's how I feel now. I feel that all of that, all the tears, all the arguments, all the hurt, all the pain, it really developed us now. We're developed. And I mean, I can't imagine where it's going to go from here. Yeah. But we learned some pretty, I guess, foundational points. And that was that, one, we have to put Christ first. And two, we have to put each other second. We have to put one another second. And then three, we just have to laugh. We laugh so much.
I wouldn't say that. And when I say that we develop, but we haven't arrived.
It's development. It's a process.
Yeah, we haven't arrived. We just realized that, and from the very beginning, we've tried to be God-centered. From the very beginning, I know I have. I tried to be. No, I'm not saying you. I've tried to be God-centered, praying, Lord, direct me the right way. As you grow, sometimes the flesh get involved, and although God says, well, you need to do this, you still have that flesh that you want to do your own thing, or you want to put your 2 cents in to help God. But at the beginning, in the first 5-6 years, it's been crazy. I look back and I could just, give my wife all the praise for just being there. I know you come into a marriage with baggage. Man, did I have some baggage? I know I had some baggage. Big bag, little bag. She stuck it out. So my hat's off to her. I praise her for that. We have a great marriage now. We're constantly growing, constantly. We're at a new church now, and the things that we've learned within the past 5 years, 3 years, it's I can't begin to say how much it has blessed us. Our children, we have a great relationship with our children. I'm blessed.
And it was endurance. We finally, kind of sum it all up, is we figured that if we committed ourselves to one another till, death do us part, good times and bad times, richer or poor, when those times come, that's when the rubber meets the road. So often people look at marriage and have these expectations. And it was really funny, when we came into marriage, I expected, this husband to take care of me and to rescue me and do, like I would have, this TV life. And it was a punch in the stomach for the most part. But what it did is it gave me a sense of, it grounded me. And now, as we have coming up on this 12th month, 12th year of marriage, I guess I really loved Derrick more than I did then. It was physical love and all those things, but that agape love has finally begun to show itself like a peak. Like, you love somebody, you say I love somebody, but do you really love them? And we've been tested, and not that we won't be tested, but we kind of know where Satan thinks he can get in, and we try to really guard ourselves, our hearts, and our home against his infiltration. And I think at the end of the day, when we sit here and talk about our marriage and how happy we are, we don't wear it. And I think I would probably close with, forgiveness has been our greatest tool. I've had to forgive Derrick. He's had to forgive me for mistakes, for choices, for decisions that were made. And I think I said it once before, forgiveness isn't easy, but it's necessary. It's necessary if you want your marriage to grow. If you want things to get better, you gotta, wipe the slate clean and give a person a chance to grow beyond what they have been or shown you. And I really see Derrick, just turning into the husband that I never dreamt of. I never dreamed that he would be the godly leader. I wanted that, but he's far exceeding what I thought he would be. And I see myself really kind of falling in line with that with him. And it's getting better. It's getting better. So I think we would encourage couples to say, no matter how bad it is, you got to pull up your bootstraps. You got to say, hey, you did me wrong. You hurt me, but I love you. And just trust that God is going to, bring forth those things that are great in your life. And we believe, plug for our church, Seeds of Greatness. But there was seeds of greatness in us, because if it wasn't, we would not be flourishing and growing now. So it wasn't all bad. It was hard. It was tough. There were some thorns there, but it wasn't all bad. And honestly, would I change it? Sometimes I would say, yeah, I would change some of them times that they were hard, but I wouldn't change anything, because I really am happy where I am, and I think that the scars and the bumps and the bruises brought us to this point.
Yeah, I guess if I had anything to add to it, I would say if a couple is facing a problem or a situation or an obstacle, pretty much blended family with outside interference, that if you go back to your vows, your marriage vows, and understand that two become one flesh, that deal with that situation together, that the two of you can accomplish anything.
Oh, good one. Who do you have up?
Wow, it was an awesome testimony. And it really brings to mind several different questions. So I'm going to throw these out at you, and you can, give me brief answers to them. The first is, where do you think you would be if you did not have God in your lives at the beginning of your marriage?
Not married. That's both our answers.
You asking both?
That was it.
I thought you was asking us individually.
No.
Oh.
Together.
Where would we be? We'd probably be divorced.
Yeah, not probably.
The first
6 months.
I was looking for it. Well, I was actually looking for how to be divorced the first 6 months of our marriage. The first 2 months of our marriage. Not because of Stephanie, but because of all the problems, all the stress, because there was a lot of stress before we got married. We went into our marriage knowing that there was going to be stress, but we had no idea it was going to be like that. So the first month or two, it really came. I searched the Bible from the back to the front, from the front to the middle to the back, looking for how to get out of this. I could deal with it. I'd rather deal with it by myself. And that was only because I didn't allow Stephanie to be part of me to deal with those situations. So, to answer your question, we'd probably be divorced with those other statistics.
Now, you mentioned getting godly counsel. Tell me what you believe the value of spiritual mentors in marriages.
I might probably answer that. When you want to do better, you have to be around people that are better, that are doing better. And from a biblical perspective, we were new in Christ, and we didn't have all the answers. So we needed to be around people that could give us direction. I remember joining our old church, and they had a ministry called post-marital counseling. And I said, well, we're signing up for that. Obviously, we need it. It was like our first year of marriage. And we would go there and sit in the front row and just
We would
completely
always sit-
dominate our class.
Yeah.
Dominate our class.
Looking for
And
an
just
answer.
say, oh, we would just tell everybody everything. But then through that, we found that we got connected with our pastor, and some other biblical counselors who took the time out and said, this is what the word says. And the word works. And that's what I think the benefit of being exposed. It's light. The word is light, and it sheds light in dark areas. And so things that we hadn't considered or thought about, we were now thinking about and considering.
Okay. Now, what are you looking forward to in the next 12 years of your marriage?
I just think, just becoming better friends. Like, we're friends. Derrick is my best friend. And that has just happened within the last few years.
With our marriage,
Yeah, me. We look forward to me.
a couple more kids.
No. Psych. No.
Whatever God has for us. Nothing specific, just whatever God has for us.
That's what you got?
Yeah.
Me? That's it in 12 years? I'm just hoping you don't break down. I'm just looking forward to not breaking down in 12 years.
I'm not going to break down.
I would just like to go back.
No, I think
At 12 years, the kids will be almost out of our children will be out of our home. And so we started our marriage instantly with children. And I'm looking forward to the children not being here and kind of starting over, but just starting later.
Yeah.
Getting to go out on dates without having to figure out a babysitter, and get to know who he like his real likes, because at that point 24 years we would have been so consumed with raising kids and dealing with stuff and issues that I'm going to look forward to not having those issues. We'll have probably a different set of challenges and things, but it'll just be a really good time to get to know one another. And I think that's what I'm looking forward to, getting to know you.
Get to know them.
Well, I really do appreciate you taking the time to talk with us. And one of the reasons why I wanted to interview you for the Christian Marriage Book Club is that your story is so awesome, in that it's not just that you made it through the rough period, but that you made it through, that you're happy, that you're more loved now than you were 12 years ago, and that you're willing to share with other people and give people hope and inspiration that you can make it through those rough spots and through what some may even seem to be unbelievable problems and challenges, and really come out victorious with the help of God and the leading of the Holy Spirit. So again, I want to thank you for your time this evening. God bless you both.
Thank you.
All right.
Kiss or something?